Welcome to the Mary Dee Show. I'm your host, Mary Dee, here to be your guide as we extract wisdom and life lessons from top CEOs, thought leaders, artists, spiritual luminaries, and wellness experts. My intention is to bring you value in every show that sparks an idea, helps you break a limiting belief, or encourages you to create thoughts that up-level your life so that you can know from the deepest parts of your soul that everything you want is available to you and that abundance is your birthright. In 2018, I healed from breast cancer holistically after surgery without the use of chemotherapy or pharmaceuticals. I love biohacking and plant medicine and exploring spirituality and what it means to be in relationship with spirit so that we can feel whole and complete no matter what life throws at us. My specialty in the business world is strategy and leadership, and my gift to each of you is my ability to listen so that I can help others see themselves. In each episode, I want to sprinkle you with some hope dust, tickle your funny bone, and inspire you to find your inner roar. Get ready to live your most aligned, purposeful, and joy-filled life now, and enjoy the show. I ruled the world, dessert would be first and salad would be last. And once I had a nutritionist tell me that actually we should have the sugar first so that our meal can help us offset some of the sugar during digestion rather than having it last where it's more likely to cause a spike in our blood sugar. So if you feel like having dessert first today, just know that it's actually better for you. We are on episode 7, and today we are talking about one of my favorite topics in both the kitchen and life, and that is cake. I am sharing a recipe for you today that I believe are the ingredients for living your best and most delicious life. I hope that each of you listening today are blessed with big insight and a clear plan for how to stay out of indecision, to stop being stuck, and to let go of the paralysis of analysis that happens in your head when you overthink, and how those things keep you from moving forward in your life with definite purpose. You deserve unimaginable prosperity. You deserve joy as a baseline to how you feel on a regular basis, and life can be a giant piece of your favorite cake, and you should be enjoying every single slice. There's a philosophy that I call just eat the cake. And I got this phrase after watching my grandmother live out the last days of her life. She actually lived to be 86, which is an aspiring number that I personally plan on exceeding. My uncle was a guy who never left home, except for one time. That was to go off to the Navy at 18, only to return 4 years later and become a postman. He had that job until he retired. He never left home. He never even had a girlfriend or a boyfriend for that matter. And I know because I asked him. I asked him before he died. He was very attached to his parents. Eventually, my grandfather died. And after that, a few years goes by and my grandmother's heart begins to fail. When my grandmother fell ill, my uncle begged her to have heart surgery so that she might live a few more years. And that thought of losing her was overwhelming for him since he had already lost his dad. And my grandmother had a 50-50 chance of coming out of this heart surgery alive. And lo and behold, she beat the odds. They were in her favor and she lived. For the next few years of her life, my uncle suddenly decided that being healthy was important for her. And he started reading books and looking at alternative health remedies. And while doing his research, he began to learn about supplements and in the process proceeded to purchase many varieties of vitamins and minerals. And at one point, he was trying to get my grandmother to take around 30 pills a day in order to ensure that she got the proper nutrients in her body to prolong her life. And I remember how much she hated it. I think she knew that even if she took those vitamins every single day, that it wasn't going to give her any significant accumulation of additional days on this earth. And she wanted to be left to enjoy the end of her life eating whatever she wanted. This is a woman who used butter and cooked mashed potatoes from scratch. And I never knew her to be someone who was exactly health conscious. She was 86 and had lived a full life. And as we celebrated one of her birthdays, my uncle was adamantly against letting her have a piece of cake. And in that moment, I thought to myself, my God, man, just let the woman have the cake. She was not living her best life. She wanted to eat cake, and not eating cake at this point in her life wasn't going to add years of her life back. And she knew that. Quite frankly, I believe that she was feeling pretty complete. But he was dictating her choices, and she was acquiescing to them most of the time. And this brings me to an analogy that you might be able to relate to. And it starts with the question of who in your life are you letting rob you of your cake? Some of you are eating cake, but you're tolerating cake that you don't even like. And others of you aren't eating cake at all. You're feeling like you are in a miserable existence, or that you have no sovereignty over your choices. You're letting other people dictate and decide which kind of cake you should be eating, or you're letting others decide that you don't get cake at all. More of you than I would like to count are also denying yourself cake because you don't think you deserve it. And this has got to stop. If you're listening to this in your car, you'll be able to understand the concept as I talk about it. But if you are in a spot where you can write down notes, this is going to get very clear for you right now, and you can give yourself a working document or spreadsheet that lets you see what your cake looks like right now. So think of a whole cake as a representation of your life. Every slice represents a different area. For example, one slice is your physical fitness. The other is your mental wellness or mindset. You also have spirituality, relationships, career or home life. You know your life best, so you can define those slices any way that you want to. If charitable service or community is important to you, then that could be a slice of your life. Your children or your partner or your business might also be separate slices. The idea here is to define what areas of your life are slices that make up your whole cake. This is your life cake. List them out one by one, and next to each heading, place a blank, because this is where you're going to put a rating for yourself in this area of life. What I want you to do next is define for yourself, for each of these slices, what is your most delicious version of that slice? So, for example, physical fitness is usually the easiest to imagine because you can set a metric to it most of the time. So let's say your most delicious level of body fat is 10% body fat, and the worst version is 70% body fat or more. If you measured yourself right now and you are at 20%, then you're not doing too terribly. Your slice is looking pretty good. I personally love a 10 scale rating. Those systems work for me. I like to do a score of 1 being the least yummy and 10 is the most decadent. Every month, I go back and revisit my cake, and I can give myself a rating in each category. I also may decide to redefine a slice or change what I'm perceiving as being delicious. Sometimes our tastes change over time, and that's okay. As you get to improve in certain areas, you're going to see where you can also raise your standards. So your standard of deliciousness, when you were 180 pounds might be different than it is when you're 130 pounds. Also, recognize if you are overrating certain areas. No one here is going to grade you on this except for you. And this can give you a tool to be really honest with yourself about what life's looking like. Also, you don't need to compare yourself to anyone else, and you can choose to be as subjective as you want. Maybe you are rating how you feel versus an arbitrary number. So if you wanted to lose 10 pounds, but you only lost 5, but you feel stronger and more energetic, then perhaps you want to redefine delicious in terms of how you feel versus the number that's on the scale. If there's a lot of areas of your life that need work, or if you've been eating someone else's cake, then right now things might not be looking so delicious. And this is an opportunity for you to pick a few slices to focus on first instead of trying to tackle them all at the same time. So I encourage you to go back to your list of slices, reorder them, and in the order of importance, rate them. Rating their importance will help you see the difference in what's a need versus a nice to have. So for example, it might be nice to hit your sales goals at work and buy yourself a Ferrari, but right now making sure that the kids get fed and in bed by 9 every night so they aren't dragging in the mornings might be the bigger need and priority, because that might create more peace in your life around your family and your kids and your own sanity. So prioritize what's important to you, because we have to know where to start. If you are toggling between all the pieces, you're going to be making a half effort instead of a full effort towards the ones that are the most important. Creating priorities, especially those ones that are aligned with your highest values, are going to help you move out of indecision, and they're going to give you direction. So if you struggle at some indecision in your life, then it's likely because you haven't decided what's important to you, or you haven't clearly established your values. And without your clarity around values, it's possible that you're making choices based on what someone else is expecting you to do, or what you perceive as what someone else wants you to do, or altogether letting someone else run the show. And at this point, when you look at your paper and you see what you have outlined, you should have your cake defined in a way so that you know which slices to work on that are going to get you to the optimal place of deliciousness. If you found any nuggets in this week's episode, please rate the show and let me know what you thought in the comments. Next week, my special guest is Zion Kim, and he is a young and upcoming CEO, and I hope you'll come join us to hear what he has to say about doing more of what you love. Thank you for joining us on today's show. I hope that today's session inspires you to live an aligned life where you get to take complete ownership of your feelings and decisions to live in your truth. You can connect with me more at www.marydee.com. You can also catch us on YouTube at The Mary Dee Show. Head on over to Instagram and Facebook and type in @TheMaryD and just look for the little blue check to ensure you're on my official page.